And then we had these things called the 5 major emphases. This is what they were: prayer and fasting, evangelism, discipleship, missions, and sacrifice. I think it would be true to say that the vast majority of students that were involved with us could state those 5 things and explain the strategies by which they were outworked on campus. That's what we found worked. We had groups that were planted as a result of prayer and fasting. Nationally, as Students for Christ, we every year would have a national week of prayer and fasting. And we would challenge students to, some might fast one meal, some would do a water fast for the week, some would do a juice fast, some would do a partial fast. It didn't matter. And we taught them on it in the weeks leading up to it. And then we'd say, for that campus, nominate 24/7 for that week, which hours are you going to pray? And different ones would take different times, and we would block out nationally an entire week of prayer and fasting to see God move on the universities of the nation. And so prayer and fasting, major emphasis. Our conferences, we'd run state and national conferences, and we'd build in prayer times into that. There was a passion for people to be praying and seeking God. We'd teach on the history of prayer as part of the history of revival, and we just inspired people to pray, to fast, to seek God, and to press in that way. I seriously believe that is a major reason why we saw God do some of the things that he did. Evangelism. We do it in a whole range of ways. You saw from the promo video some bands up that were playing. We used to get Steve Grace on, and whoever the cool band of the day was. We'd do creation evolution debates, things that would somehow capture the attention of the student community. We'd go to the Students' Union, get grants, and promote the things throughout. I remember one orientation week, a good friend of mine had actually just won the state natural bodybuilding championships. And so during orientation week, where all the stalls were, we carried on this little stage about 1 metre by 1 metre, started playing some, I think it was Shout to the Lord actually by Darlene Check, the famous song from back then. And he got up and started posing down. Literally hundreds gathered to see this guy, and he was ripped. And then afterwards I was dressed in like Coach, tracky dacks and stuff like that, and I got up and started talking about the benefits of physical exercise and disciplines, with your study and student life, and keep it balanced. And then I said, but the Bible says that bodily exercise profits little, but godliness is of great gain. As soon as I said that, the guy over there goes, oh no. But I then realised I had about 1 or 2 minutes just to squeeze in a gospel. Nobody got saved from it, but it created a presence. And we did all sorts of things. We do, and this is a really corny name now, but we do what we call Bash a Christian. And we'd, hey, same values, evangelism, fresh shape, next generation, okay? But that's what we used to call it, and it worked, Bash a Christian. And we'd literally turn up and we'd promote it, public areas. Some of it was in the eating areas, some of it was in the big grass quadrangles and so on. We'd just turn up and say, ask whatever question you want about Christianity. And we'd stand there and do our best to give an answer. And while we were doing that, we'd have the Students for Christ members. Evangelism, the base level of evangelism, the most fundamental thing we did, and we mentored everybody in doing it, was 2-on-1 evangelism. simply getting two people together, praying, and just briefly praying for a few minutes. Say, God, lead us to the person who is ripe and ready to hear about you. And they'd literally walk around campus, walk up to somebody and say, hey, and they'd phrase it in various ways and we'd coach them in how to do it. But basically, hey, we're Christians from a Christian group on campus, just wondering if you think about spiritual things at all. The number of people that would get saved through that method, or that relationship was made with, who'd then come along to one of the lunchtime meetings. Evangelism, we would just put on our creative caps and say, what do we want to do? We tried some things that flopped, we tried some things that worked, but it was all fun, and it all kept us on the edge of our faith and our anticipation and our praying. Prayer and fasting, evangelism, discipleship. Life transference one to another, and training in the basics of the Christian life. We would run discipleship groups, people of 5 or 6 that would meet together 1 hour per week. It was through the discipleship groups they'd pair up and go out doing the 2-on-1 evangelism for either 1 hour a week or 1 hour of a fortnight, whatever they could do. And then there'd be one-on-one times between the discipleship leader and the 3 or 4 that were in their discipleship group. And so we, the campus leadership, the staff would put time into the discipleship group leader. The discipleship group leader would put time into the 3 or 4 people they were responsible for. And there was a program of materials that we'd get them through. Basics of Christian belief, baptism in the Spirit, leadership, missions, a couple of other things that we'd put them through, and then if they'd gone through all of that, it could go any number of directions. But discipleship, person to person discipleship, so many of us aren't good at doing that, and it is such a key for leadership wherever you are in the world, in the workplace, in the mission field somewhere. If we understand discipleship, we can change the world. Missions, we've spent a lot of time on. Sacrifice. There was a sense of preparedness to commit and pay the price. It was the Gucci principle. The quality is ongoing to the point that you forget the price that you've paid because of the quality that you're enjoying. And, whether it was selling a booklet of bus tickets to be able to get to the staff meeting, or collapsing into the gutter and saying, God, I need a financial breakthrough, I need a car, whatever. There were just people prepared to live on the edge in order to plant something and pioneer something and see it happen.